All right, so Danny and I are more than a little stir crazy at this point, but that hasn't stopped us from dreaming of all the places that we want to travel when this is over. And we're going to talk about that next.
Welcome to the Family Vacationer with Rob and Danny. The go-to podcast for families on the move.
Welcome, friends. I'm Rob.
And I'm Danny.
And this is the episode where we talk about all of the places that we want to go when travel's able to resume. By the way, a little programming note, our next show is going to be a look at what travel may look like in the near future and beyond. We're going to be talking with my travel boss, the owner of Star Stuff Travel, and friend of the program, Stacy Cabell. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss this episode. But today, we're all about places that we want to go. We're going to give into the wanderlusts and look forward. Danny, I know you have your eyes on some places you're ready to go. What's number one on your list?
Well, number one is the place that I was supposed to have already gone, but as I talked about before with you, we had to cancel it. But that is a little town in Northern California called Ferndale.
Okay.
And a lot of the people have not heard of that, but it is a small Victorian style town. And it's the home of where one of my favorite movie of all time was filmed there.
Okay.
And so I want to go out there and just see the sights and basically stay where it was filmed and just kind of, I'm going all by myself. Nobody else wants to go. So, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That's been rescheduled for October. So I'm really looking forward to that.
You can't leave us hanging. What's the movie?
It's a little movie that came out in 1979 called Salem's Lot.
Okay.
And it was a Stephen King book made into a movie. And I got to tell you, the reason that is my favorite movie today is because of the absolute terror it struck in me as an 8-year-old kid. And I mean terror. And I think it was just so, profound in my life that now it's my favorite. I love it.
Some of you bring out and rewatch over and over?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. You got one of those, right? You watch all the time?
Yeah, well, I'm...
Scooby-Doo?
For some reason, not Scooby-Doo. Yeah, we talked about... No, Scooby-Doo movies are horrible. Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Pitt and Angelina Jolie. Anyway, enough about that rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
Let's get So number one on my list, I've got to get back to the Gulf Coast. I told my wife my gills are drying up, but specifically Destin. Destin, Florida is my one of my two favorite places on the planet. I think it's equal parts nostalgia and just a general love of the area. Because I've gone to the Gulf Coast every year since I was 2. We used to go to Panama City, and then we kind of moved up there to Destin.
When everybody else when everybody else came to Panama City, then you had to move.
Yeah, MTV coming to Panama City kind of made it not somewhere we wanted to go anymore. Plus, I don't have any cutoff jean shorts. But anyway,
thank you.
I've been to beaches from coast to coast here in the U.S., and there's nowhere that I'd rather be than Destin. I mean, dinner at the back porch, or they have a place called Gilligan's that I like.
Right.
Or the Half Shell Oyster House. See, that's just making me want to go right now.
Yeah. Okay, but just really quick, it sounds like you look forward to vacation for the same reason I do, and that's great restaurants.
That is a big reason, yes.
Yeah.
But probably my number one, and I know this irritates my wife a little bit and sometimes my kids, but I could literally float in the ocean all day long.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like throw a football or do this or do that. I could just float in the ocean all day long, and I like to. So I'm ready to go right now. What's next on your list?
Well, before I move to my next one, I will say this. The Gulf Coast is my favorite as well. And if you go, I believe it's in between Panama City and Destin to that, what's the name of that area in between those?
30A?
Yeah, there's some really great clear beaches along that area. But moving down to further down the coast of Florida is a little place called Indian Rocks Beach, and that is one of our favorites. They have a little place called Keegan's there. That's a great little restaurant. It's some of the best crab cakes you'll ever eat. But so that's one of the things that we want to do in the near future. But really, my next number two place, I should say, is St. Simon's Island,
Okay.
coast of Georgia. And I've talked to you before. I like riding bikes, and
Right.
you can just get on a bike and take the whole island, go to the graveyard. Seriously, old graves, a lot of great restaurants. So I would say that's my second on my list.
Okay. Well, I know that I've mentioned before, I have 4 states that I have to mark off my list so I can make all 50, right?
You're right. Okay.
And for some reason, during this quarantine, that's been on my mind a lot, just trying to get those last 4 states. I'd love to go back to Maine, where I have been
Yes.
before, but take my wife up there and kind of swing over and hit Vermont.
Absolutely.
That's one of the 4 that I've got to knock off.
Yeah.
Montana is a destination in and of itself. I definitely want to go there. That's one of the 4. And then Alaska and Hawaii. Hawaii is going to be the wild card there, not just because of the price, but just because of the plane trip. Not a fan of planes. I used to love plane travel, but I guess gravity's got a bigger hold on me than it used to, and I think a lot. It's not so much the flying that bothers me; it's the taking off and the landings that kind of make that. Well, I guess that's not true because my brother and I years ago flew to Rome, and I'm giving away part of my list here, but. That was a 12-hour flight, and that was back when we had a whole row to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like he had a row and I had a row, so we could spread out. They don't do that anymore, especially going forward. I don't think that's going to be the case. If they don't have a flight sold, especially going from the U.S. to Europe, they're going to cancel that flight and then combine it with another one. So I think I would be even less likely to take a 10 to 12-hour flight now just because you're in there like sardines. And I don't get claustrophobic often, but when I'm on a plane, that's one of those times. But anyway, that's I've got to knock off those 4. I mean, I just have to suck it up and get on a plane and fly to Hawaii. But gosh, that'd be awful, right?
Yeah, it's terrible. But it's interesting you mentioned that because my wife and I have so many times talked about how we would love to just get in the car and drive north and hit Maine and Vermont all the way up to Canada. I'm the language nerd, so I would love to go up to Quebec, the French-speaking areas, and practice my French a little bit. But just it's such pretty territory up there. I would just love to go up there.
Toronto. I don't know if you've been to Toronto, but
no,
you could literally eat off the ground. I mean, everything is so clean. It's a different culture there. The city is incredibly clean. My parents and my brother actually took a train trip on Amtrak from. I guess it was. I think they got on in Atlanta and they went all the way to Montreal.
Wow. So, okay.
Yeah, that would be a couple-day trip, I would imagine. But they enjoyed that a lot. So I get it totally.
Yeah.
Are there any other places that you want to cross off your list?
Yes. And this is not immediate future, but down the line somewhere. I talked a lot about visiting Iceland. I think that Iceland becoming, it's growing as a tourist destination for sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't appear to be terribly expensive to fly there. And a lot of cool places. Obviously the terrain, the mountains are just incredible. And you've got the Blue Lagoon. And so, I just love to go over and take all of that in. Such a pretty country.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talking about wanting to go to Iceland. What's the major city in Iceland? Reykjavik?
Reykjavik. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, or at least more and more people that are interested in traveling there. So, well, internationally for me, I gave this away a little bit. I really want to get back to Italy, kind of go beyond Rome. I still want to go to Rome because my brother and I, when we went, we had 3 days. Okay. 3 days in Rome is actually a drop in the bucket.
Yeah,
There's
really
so
is.
much history in that city. I mean, you could spend 2 weeks just in Rome.
Yeah.
I definitely want to go back to Rome, but I want to go to Venice. I want to take in Florence. I think what I'd like to do is take a guided tour that kind of takes you up through the country. I think we've talked about Adventures by Disney. That's the one I really had my eye on, and not just because it's Disney. I think they do a very good job of hitting the tourist spots, but also doing some things that are more local, where you really get to sample the local culture.
Yeah.
And I think that would be important if I go back, because the people of Italy are really warm. And I just really, I want to experience more of that and not just hit the tourist spots.
And you really need to venture out south of Rome and hit Pompeii. That's an incredible place. Of course, it was destroyed by volcano 79 A.D. And but you still have those people there. And of course, they were just encased, and just a lot of great history there. And sad too, of course, but so many people dying.
Right. No, I would definitely like to visit, and those folks are going to need it. Gosh, they've been hit so hard with this virus, so the tourist dollars would definitely be helpful to them. Beyond that, we talked about doing like a family history tour in one of our episodes. Well, my family history is Scotland, Ireland, and England. So I'd like to take those on. I think Spain is another country. Have you been to Spain?
No, it's surprisingly, but no. Being a Spanish teacher, I have not been to Spain. So
I think Barcelona, it just seems like a great town.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody who's gone just has the best things to say about it. It's just a vibrant, exciting town with lots going on. So that's kind of my international list. I don't have a huge international list. I mean, you won't see.
I don't either.
I know I'm weird. Paris is not on the list. I mean, I wouldn't mind going, but it's not something. Yeah, if I don't ever get to go to Paris, I'll be fine.
Well, in terms of international, I don't have a lot of either. But we have talked numerous times with my father-in-law and I. And my daughter, we've talked about biking across the Netherlands. And, look, my father-in-law might be 74 years old, but he can hike 15 miles without breathing hard.
Wow.
And it's funny. The other day we called him up and said, "You want to go ride bikes?" And he said, "I just did 75 minutes on the treadmill." And, but sure. So we did about 5 miles on bikes, and, not too bad, but he's just a monster when it comes to working out. But
this is not fair. I get winded going to the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, we've talked numerous times about going in Amsterdam, getting some bikes. The whole country's flat, and you've got everybody's on bikes. You got bike routes everywhere, even next to the major highways. You can bike all the way across the country. So that's definitely something we want to do in the future.
Yeah, my brother is much more of the world traveler than I, and he's flown through Amsterdam. I think that's on his list of places he'd like to go back to. He went to Australia by himself.
Oh, wow.
Well, he was going to Rome by himself, and my mother was like, "Why don't you go with him?" And I'm like, "I twist my arm." Okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But Australia and New Zealand, I would love to go there. They would be on my list if not for the plane ride. I just don't think I could handle that kind of, and not just the plane ride itself, but the layovers. We talked to the Richardson family about going to New Zealand, and just knowing what their itinerary looked like just to get there and get back. Luckily, they were there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If they were on a week trip, I mean, you're talking 4 days of 4 full days of travel just to get there with layovers and everything.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Nope.
No, thank you.
No,
you got anything else on the list, Dan?
No, mine's pretty short and easy, but definitely want to get back to traveling.
I've got a Caribbean island, St. Lucia is on my list. I've wanted to go there for 15 years. We talked about doing that for honeymoon, my wife and I, but she doesn't like going in the ocean.
Okay.
And I didn't want to, pay to go to St. Lucia if we weren't going to get in the water.
Yeah.
I mean, the water there's gorgeous. The beaches, the resorts look amazing. Plus, the island just has this mysterious quality about it. It's got that lush greenery and mountains.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it just makes me want to go that much more. And then beyond that, I'm sure you probably knew this was coming. I want to get back to Orlando.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You're shocked, right?
Mr. Disney here.
I was scheduled to go down for agent training in February, but I couldn't go because of my job at the time. And I just need some pixie dust in my life, Dan.
Yeah, no doubt. You always need that.
after all this, especially. So I'm anxious to get down there. I'm hoping things crank up down there pretty soon, and everybody can get back. I mean, it's not going to be normal, whatever our new normal is going to look like. And again, we're gonna talk about that in the next episode. But
yeah.
Lastly, for me, I want to get back to Nashville. I really, really miss Nashville. I haven't been in, gosh, I guess it's been years now. I don't know about you, but this lockdown, we're going on. Is this the 4th week or the 3rd week? I don't know. I'm lost, but I just miss going out to dinner.
Yeah, I know. I do too. I think the restaurants are going to be slammed once they're open.
Well, I don't think my wife's going to want to cook for a year. So, although I got to tell you, I made some shrimp and grits last night.
Oh boy!
I'll send you the recipe. Really, really good. But
I'm actually going to be waiting on that recipe. I need it.
It was fantastic. It really was good. But no, just to go out and see other people, and it's a little different now because everybody's kind of phobic about one another. You don't want to get too close to anybody, even when it's somebody you know. Yeah. You kind of wave and you don't get too close, and
that's right.
You're in gloves and a mask. That kind of cuts down on the amount of quality of conversation that you can have. So
yeah.
Anything else you're missing, like really missing in the lockdown?
I think for me, it's just first of all, I miss my kids at school. It's and it's really hard being a teacher. It's really hard for me because I always hate the last day of school anyway, because I have to say goodbye to my 8th graders. They're going to high school. Well, we just lost 9 weeks with them, and it's sad. It really is. It's hard, and it's hard enough to say bye to them, but then to realize, well, I'm not going to be able to see you, for the rest of the year either.
They just canceled the remainder of your school, right?
They did, yeah. We're out, and that was the weird thing is I was going. It's early back then. It's early April, and I'm not going back to the building till August, and that was hard to grasp. But most of all, I miss being around my kids and being able to just go out and eat at a restaurant. So.
Well, there's a ton of people, me included, that have a newfound respect for the teaching profession.
Yeah.
I got to give it up to my wife because she does the yeoman's work as far as the homeschooling that we're having to do. I just don't have the patience. And honestly, with the math, I didn't enjoy math when I had to learn it the first time around.
Yeah.
So revisiting it now where math somehow looks different than it used to, I had to have somebody explain to me 4th grade math, which is, I have a master's degree and yet I don't know 4th grade math. It's awesome. It's
well, you never learn some of the methods they're doing, but my youngest daughter Zoe, she'll have a question about math, or my daughter in college, and I'm just staring at them going, and you're asking me why?
I should know a lot about college algebra only because I took the class several times.
Yeah.
Might have even been 3 times. I'm not too embarrassed to say. When you talk about left and right brained, I am completely on the right brain side. Math, for whatever reason, you might as well. I can read. And this was my problem in school. I would reread a page in a book like 5 times, and nothing was going inside the old noggin.
Totally get that.
All right. Well, that's great for this show. We'll wrap it up. Short show today, but, just talking about where we want to go, where we want to travel. Hey, and feel free to go on our social media on Facebook, The Family Vacationer, or even Instagram at The Family Vacationer, and tell us where you're wanting to go. I'd be interested to see where everybody's wanting to travel once we get the green light, if it's someplace close, or if you're aching to go overseas, let us know. So hit us up on our social media accounts. And again, don't forget to subscribe. Next week, a very, very, very cool show. We're going to talk with Stacy Cabell about what the future of the travel industry is going to look like. And that'll be next time on The Family Vacationer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to The Family Vacationer. Make sure and subscribe to hear more of Rob and Danny.